Hello, welcome back to Aetheral Space 13.84 Dusk. We are back. You can hear the glee in my voice.
I feel so anxious, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. So I have to hit you. Oh god, I have to hit you with a question right away.
Hit me!
Weiser brought something up.
Yes.
And I wanted to know if this was another Tanism where the story changed after you wrote it, or if this is like some fuck shit that she caught.
Mm-hmm.
So she noticed a passage from 9.28. Now that you have come here, Hamashtiel said sadly, they can do worse things than kill you. They can show you impossible colors, subject you to an infinite second, relay to you the horror thoughts of the Sapphire Star. What were you thinking? Do they know where or what the Sapphire Star is, and can they access it?
They have an archive of it.
What are the horror thoughts of the Sapphire Star?
It thinks on a wavelength beyond humans.
What? Does it have thoughts? Can it feel?
Oh yeah, it thinks a lot.
What does it think about?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Peace and joy for all mankind, right?
No, maybe not.
What does it think about,
It's not the prince, it's a separate entity from the prince.
I had a crazy batshit theory with no backing that I tossed at Jupe. It was because I noticed there were some parallels between like the 1,000 Revs and now, like with the Supremes and with Dragon and the Blind Man. My crackpot theory is that the Sapphire Star is a comet that swings around every 1,000 years, and now that it's on the precipice of returning, history is repeating itself, and Aether is putting humanity into a cycle. Is that something, or is that insanity?
You cooked something, but I don't think we're going off the same recipe.
Oh, it's got something to do with cycles and comets. I can smell it. Something is afoot. What is it? No, no. What is it? What does it have to do? I can smell.
Well, I've decided not to tell you in the story. I'm gonna actually just relay the facts to you right now. No,
we're taking the Wildbow approach. This will all be word of God on Reddit 5 years after.
It's like, yeah, actually, God was a dragon.
The dragon actually did exist, but he died when Dragon consumed him in the womb. That's why all his techniques were Gemini, because he was meant to be a twin. Yeah. He was supposed to be a twin.
Being phased by Muzazi, he decided it was time to fully incarnate. 4 on 2 4 Dragon.
Alright, we should read the chapter now. Enough stalling. I'm just so anxious about this. Fuck me. Okay. Oh. We're here. You ready?
Yeah.
Dragon Hadrian could strike no more blows without his arms, but Atoy Muzazi fell to his knees all the same. It was strange. He'd expected some noise at this moment, cheering perhaps, or the jeers of those who had aligned themselves against the winner. But with the chaos of their battle, and whatever else had happened in their absence, the arena was empty. The arena was cold. The arena was hostile. As Atoy Muzazi stared at the ground with broken eyes, and Dragon Hadrian's flesh slowly returned, they were surrounded only by the chittering of emerald eyes. Elsewhere on this planet, no doubt, people were celebrating, no doubt people were lamenting. But here, right now, they were only these two, and the despair they'd weaved together. Atoy Muzazi didn't know how long he lay there, his mind taking leave of him. All he did know was that he returned to an approximation of his senses. Dragon Hadrian was standing before him. When he returned, yeah, there you go. His fresh legs were absent of burn or bruise. It was as if the entire fight, as if the entire contest, had never even happened. Move, the shooting star said. The backhand caught Muzazi in the cheek, sending him sprawling to the ground. Blood sprayed onto the ground, a single tooth serving as punctuation. He could have dodged that, Muzazi knew. He could have blocked it. But what was the point? He'd lost. The promise he'd made to Marie, the flesh he'd given up, the sorrow he'd brought Aklyma, the efforts of those who'd brought him this far, the belief of those who'd supported him. He'd wasted it all. No, no, no. Muzazi pushed himself up with his good hand, almost crawling, but he was capable of no more now that the adrenaline had started to abandon him. Even just this action was a great effort now. The pain had him in its grasp. No! He roared after Hadrian. The cogitant stopped, glancing over his shoulder at Muzazi. Needless to say, incineration had done its work upon his wardrobe, and Panacea couldn't restore clothing. So he stood in the middle of the arena naked as the day he was born. Oh, that sun glare. If this was the anime right now. Shining over him.
He's recorded it, don't worry.
He recorded his genitals.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. If that had bothered him any, he didn't show it. He already walked with the dignity of an emperor. What? Hadrian asked, his voice flat. I don't. You mustn't. But I promised! I killed the Supreme! Musashi screamed on his hands and knees, before the arena, before the emerald eyes, before the turning world. Hadrian raised a single, silver eyebrow. No. Make it stop! Make it stop, Tan. You can't make me read it, I refuse.
Read it. Proceed.
No. Please, don't make me read it.
Do it!
Sorry, my mouth also does hurt a little bit. I had, something going on with my gum. Ugh. It, hurts in the bottom right of my gum, but I don't know why. Musashi crawled forward, dragging his ruined arm through the dirt. I killed him, he repeated, desperation warping his tone. Me, the Supreme on Elysian Fields, I did it! It was me! With my own hands, with his own sword, I cut his head off and ended his life. Me! This Dawn contest is a farce, all of it! I killed him! I killed the Supreme! Me! This wouldn't save Acclima. She's still threatened. Oh, what's happening, Tan? Why is he doing this?
Because
it
he
hurts.
wants it so bad.
But Acclima's life is still in danger.
He's
I don't
not
even
thinking straight.
What was the point? What was the point?
Well, you already surrendered, so it doesn't matter what he says now.
In a dark room, in a dark corner of a dark city, North clicked his tongue. Bad time to wake up, kid. The girl stared at the monitor before her, the gun to her head forgotten for the time being. The words that Itoy Musashi was screaming streamed over her. No! Are you fucking kidding me? You've got to be kidding me. Come on, Tan. Come on, man.
It was gonna happen.
So not only does she miss him surrendering to save her, but she wakes up in time to hear that he killed her dad. What's the point, man? What's the fucking point? The words that Itoy Musashi was screaming streamed over her, a river of knives, her face twitching as the new information was reviewed. Her breathing became rapid and irregular. She visibly paled. She mumbled, What? And then, without North even having to do anything, she slumped over, unconscious once more. Oof, North said. Me! Musashi's final scream echoes through the empty arena, the world screaming right back at him. Tears flowed from his eyes, washing away the blood. Slowly, he dragged himself forward another step, as if to pursue Hadrian. He had to keep... No, said Dragon Hadrian. Musashi looked up at him. A bright light was shining from behind Hadrian's head, like a halo, casting a deep, dark shadow over Musashi's form. The slightest smile worked its way across Hadrian's lips. You killed Cadman, the shooting star corrected. I'm the Supreme. I think I found out what this Supreme title is, guys. Dan, this chapter is painful to read. I think you have to take over.
I can't.
I'm dying.
You must.
No.
Like Christ, you must suffer.
Please.
You want me to take the wine from your lips? I cannot.
My mouth hurts. Okay. And with that, the Supreme turned away from him once more. The light rose higher, revealing its origin as it came into view. The Temple of the Tree of Might, docking with the Arena of the Absolute, slotting into it as if they'd been one structure from the beginning. A wooden staircase descended from the base of the temple, thumping down into the dirt. The branches flooded out of the temple, forming a human corridor for Hadrian to pass through on his way to the staircase. As he passed, they bowed low, their respect such that their heads were touching the ground. One attendant passed Hadrian a fresh white cloak, which he pulled around his body to preserve his modesty. What happened to strength? Musashi thought vaguely. I thought that was the point. I thought that was the point of all of this. He cheated. He cheated, didn't you see? But they just bowed to him like none of it even mattered. Like none of it had ever really mattered. Oh. The scream of despair trailed off too quickly, exhaustion and agitation and pain ganging up on it. He was spent. Atoy Musashi slumped down on the ground, gave up, and was dead to the world. Can we have a moment of silence, please?
Of course.
For my goat.
Bah.
Did you do the dishes, dead boy? Pan asked. Musashi, Dragon responded.
Oh my god, he's changing camp so easily.
She
what
smiled.
happened to shrimp?
She knew they were washed.
No. Musashi's the greatest warrior is doing Musashi slander.
Is he the greatest warrior?
I thought you were Musashi's greatest warrior.
I was, but what's the point?
He's fallen into
There's only so many times a man can be beaten down before he has to change. Don't you think? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
It only takes one bad day to turn the sanest man alive gay.
I always thought I would quite like to be a Dragon fan.
Oh my god.
What's the point anyways? This is my villain origin.
He's North.
This is like when people started becoming Sukuna fans because everyone died. It's like, fuck it, it's the only way to enjoy the story now. Oh, there's so... Okay. We're back. Bang! The Neverwire bullet froze in the air, suspended by a bubble of redirected air, touching only the side effects of infusion and not the source. Slowly, Dragon Hadrian turned to look at it. It had been stopped inches from his head, in the instant before he had struck it out of the air himself with a reflexive railgun. Still, though, he appreciated being able to save the effort. He gave Xander a slight nod. "Thanks," he said, and then, almost lazily, he pointed a finger in the direction the attack had come from. Gemini railgun. The blast enveloped the tiny nest the sniper had used, consuming it in fire and smoke. An avalanche of rubble poured down into the stands, burying the shattered seating. No second shot came. "Go see if they died," Dragon said casually, turning back to the staircase. "Yes, my Supreme!" Two members of the Tree of Might scampered off to follow his instructions. Not Lord Hadrian, huh? That was right, he supposed. He'd won the Dawn contest. To these true believers, his name had already vanished from this world. He wasn't the Shooting Star, or the Zero Branch, or even Dragon Hadrian anymore. He was the Supreme. "I'm here, Skipper," Dragon thought, slowly climbing the staircase into the darkness of the temple. "I finally reached the starting point. From here on in, there's no turning back. From here on in, it's time to decide the shape of this world." He took a step. "Dragon!" cried a voice from behind him. He stopped. No. Bruno Del Cid panted for breath, kicking up dirt as he skidded to a halt before the procession. Metal sang as dozens of weapons, swords and spears, guns and bows were pointed at... Oops, sorry, I lost my place. Were pointed at him all at once. The arsenal of the Tree of Might, aligned in mutual caution. That made sense, he supposed. It was common for assassins to go after the Supreme right after their ascendance. Aw, that's a cute way of answering one of the questions. I don't know if you saw that one. Someone asked, like, how common it was for people to try that.
It's very common. It's a good strat.
He'd run ahead, so he hadn't time to think all of this through. But they wanted to protect their new sovereign. The young first branch of the Tree of Might, Xander Rain, scowled at the new arrival. "That's the Supreme you're speaking to, intruder! Mind your tongue!" Bruno ignored the brat and instead called up to the man who had stopped at the top of the staircase. "Dragon!" Dragon said nothing. He didn't even turn to look. "Dragon! I'm talking to you, damn it!" You must not address the Supreme by their name!" Xander barked, face twisted with fury. "Leave, now! Dragon!" Xander opened his mouth again, perhaps to signal his subordinates to attack. But before he could do so, he was interrupted. "Bruno," said Dragon. A half-formed smile crept across Bruno's face. "We need to talk," he said, taking a step forward. "About this, about all of this! What the hell is going on, Dragon? What do you think you're doing?" This is still Bruno talking, right? Or is Serena intervening? Okay. Reluctantly, the branches parted to let Bruno pass. It seemed the acknowledgement of their sovereign was enough for them to let some things slide. Bruno's footsteps thumped on the wooden staircase as he slowly ascended. As he did so, the staircase began to ascend again, being pulled back up into the temple like a tongue returning to the mouth. The other branches floated up in the air, no doubt carried by Xander Rain's strange ability, but Dragon and Bruno stood alone on the uneven platform, the ground growing small beneath them. Again, though, Dragon seemed to have gone quiet. He hadn't even moved in response to Bruno's questioning, exasperation finally forcing its way out of his throat. Wrong, it's. Looks like some things never change. Bruno snapped. Bruno, Dragon interrupted. Have I done something that made you think I wanted you here? Finally, he turned to look at Bruno, and his eyes were full of mundane disdain, like he was looking at an insect half crushed beneath his foot. Bruno blinked. Huh? Did you not hear me? Dragon asked calmly. I asked why you thought this was the place for you. Are you stupid? Why are you here? You're just some guy I hung out with. No, don't say that. You don't mean that.
I wrote it.
Why did you say that? In my head, I'm just playing I Bet on Losing Dogs. Hold on, I need a minute. You're just some guy I hung out with a couple of years ago. Did you think you were that important to me? My heart is breaking. I can't do this. You popcorn.
I can't do it justice. I'm sorry.
I can't either!
You can.
I'm a mess!
Says Bruno.
Dragon, Bruno said. I thought I made it clear. You chased me across half the galaxy. If I wanted to see you, why wouldn't I have just turned around and seen you? Get lost. You're annoying, Del said. Bruno felt Serena's anger deep within his core, but he stuffed it down, taking another step forward. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Xander Rain tighten his grip on his spear, but he ignored it. The things Dragon was saying right now, he didn't mean them. It was just another attempt to get Bruno to leave. If he could just push through, if he could just reach his friend, he could... You're not going to stop, are you? Dragon said softly, glancing at Xander. You even went to see Fix. That really pissed me off, you know. I need to talk to you, Bruno persisted, fists clenched. I get why you're saying this, but I need to... You want to talk to me, Dragon said mercilessly. But I don't want to talk to you, Bruno. I'm sick of talking to you. I'm sick of having to look over my shoulder to see if you're catching up. But you know what? He raised an arm, pointing a limp finger at Bruno. I know how to put a stop to that, Dragon finished. No, he wouldn't. You wouldn't. He stepped forward. Dragon, he said, mouth dry, throat scorched. Skipper wouldn't. Dragon Hadrian silently mouthed 2 words. Gemini shotgun. Ruth Blaine charged out into the arena, just in time to hear those words and see a flash of blue light envelop it. Envelop what? Envelop the world. She skidded to a halt, arms falling limp to her sides, her thoughts screeching to a halt. She didn't blink. 2 halts, even. She didn't breathe. As the blue light poured over the world, she could do nothing but watch and stare, as the Gemini shotgun blasted into Bruno's chest. The effect was immediate. Bruno had raised no defense, and so crumpled into a limp pile, like a puppet with its strings cut. Thump, thump. He rolled down the stairs. Thud! He hit the ground. He did not move. Alice, Rex, Skipper, Bruno, Serena? Rage took Ruth Blaine once more. Her injuries were forgotten. Her pain was irrelevant. Within an instant, she was clad in bestial armor and charging forward on all 4s, rushing straight for Dragon. Red aether crackled a thunderstorm around her. Dragon! She wouldn't make it, of course. She'd known from the beginning that she wouldn't make it. The first branch of the Tree of Might raised his weapon. His subordinates raised theirs. She was about to be struck by the full might of the arsenal aligned against her. Only Dragon himself stayed still, his eyes wide as he looked at her. She ignored it. Armor or no, this wasn't something she could survive. A many-colored light poured over the arena, scorching towards Ruth and the 2 bodies on the floor, before something suddenly landed between her and the conflagration, blocking its passage. Rays of destruction spat out in all directions, burning through the stands, but not a single trace of the attack crossed the halfway mark of the stadium. The force that had landed would not allow it. It wasn't someone that Ruth recognized. A pugnant with bright red hair and bright gold eyes, wearing a black fur coat, and holding a shield that dwarfed his own body. That was what he'd used... Oh, sorry, I lost my place again. That was what he'd used to block the Tree of Might's attack. As if that wasn't enough, he'd done it with one hand. The other had tight hold of Bruno and Serena Del's head. Had he grabbed them in the moment he'd landed? Why? "Looks like we made it in time," the pugnant grunted against the beam, still pouring against his shield. "He alive?" Ruth's armor was already disintegrating, adrenaline losing its advantage, freeing up her neck so she could look around more clearly. This man hadn't come here alone. Another man was suddenly here, a dark-skinned man with long black dreadlocks holding an ominous spear. He was crouched over the body of a toy Muzazi, checking the wounded warrior's pulse. After a moment, he looked up at his companion and nodded. "He's alive. We need an exit. Go wild, Rufus." Oh, that wasn't Rufus's voice I did before. What was Rufus's voice?
He's not been talking much.
Should I keep it to just that?
Yeah, he's got like a gruff guy, yeah.
"I'm a gruff guy." A grin flashed across the pugnant warrior Rufus's face, and immediately he turned his gaze back towards the back of his shield. "Let's go!" he roared, pushing his shield forward. "You dumbasses give me a nice temperature! Bastard-born!" There was no doubt that the massive shield was some kind of aether armament. As Rufus pushed it and called its name, jets of heat began to pop out all along the rim of the shield, like someone turning on a stove. The side of the shield facing the enemy began to glow red with heat. The light built and built and built, until blue flames were visibly stretching out from the weapon until there was the slightest pause in the enemy's attack. Rufus's roar, empowered with aether, devoured the arena, and a beam of pure white heat blasted out from his shield towards the gathered ranks of the Tree of Might. Ruth watched, eyes wide. The bar of god fire instantly melted through the metal floor of the arena as it went, carving a tunnel as it came to fell the tree. The enemy wasn't defenseless either, though. Xander Rain stepped forward, extending a hand, crackling with brown aether, extending it, and the flow...
Sorry.
I lost... You gotta stop spacing them when I'm reading. Please!
I'm adjusting the dimensions.
And the flow of the incoming beam shifted, separating into disparate rays of destruction that blasted off in every direction. As the arena was consumed by strobing obliteration, concealing their group from sight, Ruth felt a hand on her shoulder. She looked up. It was the man with the spear, his face serious, a toy Muzazi slung over one shoulder. "Ruth Blaine?" he asked, shouting to be heard over the destruction. "If you want to live, come with us." How had he recognized her? Wasn't she meant to be in disguise? Ruth put a hand to her face, and when she pulled it away, she could see tiny, withering strings coating her hands. The ability had run out? When had that started happening? There wasn't really a choice, that she knew. Oh my god. The ball at midnight.
Slippers. Where did they go?
No. Whoever these people were, they had Bruno and Serena, and Ruth couldn't stand up to the kind of forces attacking them right now. Even if Dragon was standing there, even if Dragon had just done what she thought he'd just done, there wasn't anything she could do about it alone. Ruth nodded seriously, accepting the offered hand. The man smiled, just slightly, just for a moment, before turning his head to face Rufus. That's enough, Rufus. That's enough, Rufus. We need to go. Now! Rufus broke off his counterattack, the beam of heat ceasing immediately as he turned and began sprinting over to them. Even without the sheer annihilation, though, the amount of smoke the attack had produced was enough to keep them concealed. At least for the moment they were concealed. From that side, at least. Bang! Ruth swung her head around as she heard the gunshot, reflexively blocking it with a swing of her gauntleted arm. The Ascendant General had arrived. However his fight with Nyan had gone, Toll had surely taken his damage. There was a gaping wound on his stomach, and the man was visibly holding his entrails in with one hand while it limped into the stadium. His other hand was holding a shotgun. Wait, is this Gemini shotgun?
No, an actual shotgun.
I know, it's like, is this the stick?
Oh my god.
It's the shotgun he's always referring about, the other one?
Man.
He's boring, man? His other hand was holding a shotgun like it was a pistol. Bang, bang, bang! They were far away, and the spear user was able to deflect the shots with swings of his weapon. As Rufus reached them, putting a hand on his companion's shoulder, the spear was pointed towards the sky. Pink aether crackled around it. Jamilu has pink aether?
Yeah.
Or is that the spear's aether? Oh,
they have
that's
the same
sick.
color aether.
Hold on, the wielder said. And, like it was magic, the weapon pulled them up into the sky.
Hold on one sec.
Popcorn for real.
Yeah, sure, one sec.
Oh, you had to put a chit in there.
It's like, don't use me to fly, you fucking dickhead.
Alright, you read now.
Dragon-
My everything hurts.
Dragan watched as Ruth, Bruno, Serena, and the interlopers flew off into the sky, disappearing among the night clouds. Xander went as if to pursue them in the air, but Dragan caught his gaze and shook his head. My Supreme, Xander said quietly. They have a Toy Musashi with them, though. There's a possibility of a pretender. It's fine, Dragan replied. That's what the banquet is for, after all, isn't it? Slowly, Xander nodded. As you say. The second branch, Fino Onyo, spoke up, taking a finger away from his ear as he did so. We've just received confirmation from the Bardi. They've accepted your victory. The Alec Alexander is waiting to receive you for transport to the Shesha.
Real quick, is it supposed to be Onyo, O-N-I-O?
You saw it. You noticed. You get where the full start. Dragon smiled thinly. Well, let's not keep them waiting then. With that, he turned, pulling his cloak tight around him as he vanished into the darkness of the temple. That had been a close one. The business with the climber, the battle against Musashi, the thing with Bruno, it all come far too close for comforts. But then again, comfort was another thing Dragon Hadrian had flayed away from himself. Now he only had patience for victory. This is how it starts, Skipper. The doors thumped shut behind him. Dragon climbed. The words of the three wise men will be beamed out to every corner of the galaxy that night. Their acknowledgement, their congratulations, their approval. Even in places outside the supremacy, the people would listen, because they knew the shape of their world was about to change, whether they liked it or not.
Oh my god, this is just like the election.
This is unintentional, I swear to God.
Yeah, sure.
We don't
sure
like
thing,
Musashi,
buddy.
folks. Moody Musashi, we call him.
Moody Musashi! He literally lives the most suffering life of all time. They're saying he's Moody Musashi,
He's
people.
always moody. I don't know.
Goes on about honor, but what does he do when it's his time for the Dawn Contest Finals? We're gonna make the supremacy great again.
They're saying, my friend North, he's the owner of X.
You know what? You just have to make me supreme this time, folks. Then you won't have to make anyone else supreme anymore.
I'm just saying. Tonight has been an auspicious night. Titans have clashed and one has been found wanting. Through strength, through valor, through wit, a supreme fighter has been found. The Dawn Contest is over, and so the sun rises. 3 bodies, 2 men and a woman. Morgan Knott, Gregory Hazard, and someone Jude didn't recognise. Well, that was fine. So long as she was here, it was just as well. Jude Gray observed dispassionately as he watched his men bind Neverwire across around the unconscious bodies and prepare them for transports. He clicked his dice between his fingers, but for the moment he didn't roll them. He'd already gambled once this Dawn Contest. He gambled that Atoy Musashi would stand victorious, and he'd lost. For the time being, he wasn't leaving things a chance. Now was the time for damage control. It'd been a mistake for Shooting Star Security Solutions to publicly align themselves with Toy Musashi in the first place. Even more of a mistake for them to publicly oppose the contestant who shared their moniker. Right now, they're in very hot water. But that was fine. Jude recognised the best path that now lay before him. The supremacy now had a new god. And what was the best way to ingratiate yourself to the divine? Easy. Offer up the non-believers. Dragon climbed. He'd taken the opportunity to get some new clothes. He still wore the white cloak, but now there was black fabric beneath to help preserve his modesty. In one hand, he to help cover himself. I can't stop saying preserve his modesty.
To cover his body. I love the idea that Dragon has any modesty in his body whatsoever.
He doesn't even
I know
care
you mean
about
like
his skin.
well, like he's never been modest a day in his life. He's so cocky.
In one hand, he held a great staff tipped with a stone eyeball. In the other, a bulky gauntlet of interlocking bronze. Amulets hung from his neck. Rings adorned his 3 fingers. Meaningless trinkets and baubles. Marks of office taken from the Shesha's Supreme Archive. The moment he was done with them, he'd let them fall to the floor. But for the time being, he needed to look the part. The age of yet another false Supreme has ended, and the true scion of the supremacy has made himself known. Let us cheer. Let us make merry. Let us rejoice in the knowledge that the majesty of this great nation has been rekindled by a finer flame than any other. The shepherdess bit her thumb. Actually, that didn't do enough to describe it. She wasn't just biting her thumb, she was biting her thumb. She was really biting it. Blood trickling down the edges of her mouth biting it. Her teeth halfway through the ligaments biting it. Aeon just sat awkwardly next to her, looking down into the pit of the arena. What is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to make an adjustment. Ed just sat awkwardly next to her, looking down into the pit of the arena. He didn't know the cause of her anger. Was it how Atoy Muzazi had replaced the Supreme? Was it how Dragan Hadrian had defeated his opponent through underhanded means? He was just a human after all, so he couldn't begin to guess the thoughts of a mechanism, or what that mechanism would do next. Hold on, I'm getting a text message. Everyone wants a fucking second from me.
That's why I know that feeling. Hang in there, bud.
Dragon Clan.
It's so hard to be supreme. How many Discord pings do you think Dragon gets now?
Hey, heard you became supreme.
Like guys he randomly was in admin corps with, yo, Dragon, long time no see. Remember how we used to be the best of friends? It was his fucking bully.
Dragon Clans. The Cheshire was indeed as cavernous as people said. It felt more like a tomb than a temple, all things considered. The dark hallways seemed to stretch on forever, and the rooms themselves were so large they felt like they had horizons of their own. Doors the size of starships slowly opened, allowing a pale light to flood into the throne room, and the shadow of Dragan Hadrian stretched forth to meet it. And let us be grateful. Can I popcorn to you this last little bit?
Yeah, I'm just stealing my heart. I'm in so much pain right now. You know this chapter is going to kill Imp and Greenie, right? As the wind whipped past, as the spear pulled their motley group across the sky, Ruth Blaine squeezed her eyes shut. The last traces of gold and blue stripped away from her face, scattering in the air as so many strings. Her heartbeat thundered in her chest. The last few minutes...
I can cook it a little bit more here.
Her heartbeat thundered in her chest like a shotgun. The last few minutes felt like a dream. Dragon shooting Bruno, these people arriving, all of them flying off together. The Del Seds and Atoy Muzazi were both unconscious, their limbs flapping in the air as they flew, their faces strangely peaceful. They were blind to the world. Ruth found herself strangely jealous. Dragon, I'll show you, Ruth had said, in that sun-dyed tower on Kalis Breck. I'll show you that people aren't how you think. I'll show you that they're good. A lie. She'd never shown him anything at all, had she? Thump, thump, thump. Oh, sorry. Dragon climbed. Thump, thump, thump. Dragon's footsteps echoed through the throne room as he approached, claiming dominion over the space. For the moment he was alone. He had demanded that, at the moment of his ascension, he was to be solitary. It was for that reason that nobody could see the strangely downcast look in Dragan Hadrian's eyes. Thump, thump, thump. The bells of a new world. Let us be grateful for the future now offered to us. North put his pistol back in its holster as he turned on his heel, strolling out of the dark room. He really should have asked for a bonus for this kind of work. Running all the way from the arena of the Absolute to this corner of the city had been tiring work, after all. It was a miracle he hadn't had to fight the phases to claim a Clima too. A bonus. North smirked ruefully. Yeah, right. How long had he been working for free now? Well, I'm sure you don't want to hear this from me, kid, North called out over his shoulder, but you got my condolences. He'd left her bound with Neverwire, but she'd be able to break out of that given time. Wait, he hasn't received a cent from Dragon?
Oh, interesting.
Didn't he oh my god. What does he believe in? Alright, so there's two courses here. Path of Red and a Path of Blue.
Okay.
Right? Path of Red is Dragon has some kind of plan that North is privy to and believes in. Path of Blue is that North is in fact gay for Dragon. Choose. Dragon climbed. His hand brushed against the arm of the throne, and he took a deep breath. This was still the seat that Cadman had taken, coated in dust, much too big for any normal human. Blue aether crackled against Dragon's finger. And with a tap against the stone, he scattered the dust away. Let us be grateful for the strength we once more wield. This feels almost like a church service.
Yeah.
9 stalked through the alleyways of Azum-Ha, a frown on his face. Smith...
I have different... he has different
Smith
emotions.
the guy. Smith oozing along with him along the floor. 2 alongs? They kill you for that, you know. He flicked his red hands, scattering loose bits of Alexandria's tools' insides onto the ground. Smith greedily slurped them up. What was his voice again? Old man. You seem in low spirits, my king, Smith cooed, a shadow of his face appearing inside his black mask like a sourceless reflection. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Nain ignored it. True, meeting Adelsad had certainly put a damper on things, but the night had still been entertaining after all. The shepherdess had been insulted. He'd managed to confirm the plan's viability. And a new supreme had risen. His smile returned, as it always did. Ah, Smith, he sighed fondly. There's never a dull moment in this world, is there? He didn't know the full extent of it, though. In what was a truly rare occasion, someone was following the King of Darkstar without his knowledge. Someone with dancing rainbow aether, in a body that had long since left this world. Is that?
That man?
Is that boring, man? Is that 10 out of 10, man?
There's only one guy we know with gay aether.
It's true. Dragon climbed. Actually, that's a quick lore question. Is Wu Ming the only one who's ever had rainbow aether?
I'll tell you later, maybe. Once this chapter's complete.
Dragon climbed. The throne reconfigured itself, segments rotating and contracting to suit the size of the person now standing before it. By the time it was done, it was nearly half of its original size. Dragon just watched it silently, standing before it like he was taking audience with an invisible king. An invisible short king. Let us be grateful for the vision that cuts through the endless, bitter night. Deep in the dark bowels of Azumha, where few now ventured, a young man with dark skin and white hair waited. Azez the Absolute smiled. Is that him? Is that Azez?
Huh.
What the fuck? What's happening?
Huh. Interesting.
What's happening?
Interesting.
What do you mean? We saw him die, right?
Yeah.
So what is this? Is it from heaven? Is he the young man?
Do you think he's in heaven, bro?
Is he in hell?
I would say if we take a Christian view of the Aetheral Space universe,
No, I agree. He would definitely be in hell. Sorry. Is he in the afterlife? I should put asterisk.
No.
What is happening right now in this story that you've written? My fucking brain can't take it. Dragon climbed. It was ready. Even shrunk, the throne dwarfed him. Through the grace of a white backlight, the shadow it projected devoured Dragon's own. He swallowed. He'd come this far. He didn't have the kind of leeway to be intimidated by furniture. Dragon Hadrian stepped forward. Dragon Hadrian turned around. And the Supreme sat down. Let us be grateful for our one true Supreme, and let him sit the throne until the end of time. End of Arc 13.
Ooh, how long have we been in this fucking night? It has to be a year now, right?
I feel like Yamcha. I'm like... So, with the hiatuses, we do about 2 a week, but there's been several hiatuses. It's been probably a year, yeah. Almost.
But I remember I started this and I said we were going to be in this arc for the foreseeable future.
This was easily the best arc of Aetheral Space. This was maybe my favorite arc in anything I've ever read.
Did I cook?
No, like, seriously, oh. I've become so obsessed with Aetheral Space. It's so good, Dan. I hope it stays at this quality the rest of the series.
Well, that's the idea, that's the hope, yeah.
God, this needs to be published. It needs to be animated. It needs everything. Oh, man.
Well, yeah, that's Arc 13. That's basically, I would say, like 4 normal arcs, in terms of length, anyway. Hence the parts.
I'm dead inside. I'm just trying to cope right now. Okay, so
yeah,
quickly.
Next arc will be much, much shorter. It'll be sort of a transitional arc.
There's only like 5 arcs left, right?
Yeah.
Jesus.
How much longer? It's not going to be that short.
How much longer in real time do you think Aetheral Space will be?
It's hard to say.
What are we, like 70% of the way through?
Yes. Yeah, I would say so.
Fuck. Oh, sorry, we have questions. 1, has anyone else ever had Rainbow Aether before?
I would say, yeah, it's very, very rare.
And do the people with Rainbow Aether also happen to be as gifted as Wu Ming, or is that just coincidence?
They're all him. No, I don't mean they're all women, but they're them.
They're all like him, capital H.
Yes.
Gotcha. Interesting. Does color otherwise mean anything with it?
Color has it's like a representation of like the sort of consciousness you have, but it's not like a mood ring. Like it's not so easily like categorized.
So what would blue represent? What are some of the colors?
What I mean
represent?
it's not that sort of thing. Like you will. It's not something like blue. You're a bitch.
Right.
But there is some correlation between it, but it's not something that you could like look at and analyze and categorize so easily.
Fair enough.
But like Rainbow Wave, you'd see that every couple of centuries, probably.
I'm trying to remember where we were at in the questions. You already kind of answered Lan's question. Lan asks, how did Avaman get his name? Twice in the series he's referred to as the Avaman, so I'm curious if it's also a title.
So Avaman is originally a title used by the first couple of Supremes for like their announcer or their envoy or something like that. It fell out of fashion though. And
the Avatar Man.
Yeah, sure. And when Avaman became a contender, he took it as his name. And that's why some people refer to him as the Avaman as well. Like, that's his self.
And he's also,
role.
like, the hype man.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
So it's his name and his title, basically. But
Lan asks... Oh, sorry, go ahead. Please continue.
So people sort of interchangeably use it as a name or a title for him. But at this point, like, it's known for what he's called more than whatever.
What's his real name?
Avaman, that's what he's named himself.
Oh my god, that's so sad. Lan asks, what is Skipper's cultural legacy? Is he a respected Supreme Killer or more of a terrorist in public perception?
He's viewed pretty negatively. It's very
really?
much a terrorist narrative. It would probably be different if he had killed the Supreme and then lived to tell the tale, but because they both died, they never transitioned to the woo new guy sort of hype.
Does he have any fans who are like, thank God they got rid of that Cadman?
Well, Cadman was pretty popular in the Supremacy.
Really? I thought people hated his ass. But what about Draenel?
Well, yeah, but that was like... it could be, like, categorized as an enemy Supremacy. In the Supremacy is what I mean. He was popular.
Yeah.
Inside.
That's fair. Lan asks, how did Dragon make all that...
Again, that's mostly because he didn't do much. So, yeah.
Lan asks, how did Dragon make all that money?
Well, that was answered below. There's mention that there was a heist during the time skip that he did, and everyone else from the heist crew died. And that's what Bruno and Serena were like hunting him down, using as like the trail.
Interesting. All right.
So that's like imagine that as like Arc 11.5.
Oh Lord. All right, I'm going to leave it off there. This is already a long one I have to edit.
So there will be a week hiatus, by the way, guys. As is traditional, with the end of an arc, I'm not being lazy. Give me time to
It's not always traditional. There have been arcs where we've gone straight into it, but I guess these days...
Jesus, fucking... It's a week! I'm not...
To be fair, I don't think anyone's going to be feeling well after they read this one.
But yeah,
I'm like genuinely worried. A poor Greedy and Imp are going to die.
So
it's rough.
I want to this is I'm going to give a little preview of the next arc, so you know what to expect though.
What?
So next arc,
if you stick out post credits,
no, arc 14. It's going to be a, like I said, transitional arc, and it's going to take place over the course of like a day.
The whole arc?
Yeah.
Wow. Like a day from the end of arc 13?
Yeah, it takes place, like, from where we are now, it's tomorrow.
Wow. And that whole day is the arc?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds fun. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye! Bye.